In the shadowed spaces of our world, there lurk figures that wear our faces, yet are not bound by our souls. They move like reflections, studying and mimicking each gesture, each whisper. Known as doppelgangers, these beings haunt the edges of sight, unsettling in their perfection. But unlike mere reflections, they carry a purpose darker than imitation, waiting, perhaps, for a moment when their presence alone could unravel the fragile thread between identity and possession. They are close, too close, watching with eyes that mirror our own, but hold none of our humanity. Welcome to Tales from the Graves, where shadows lurk and whispers echo.
Join us as we delve into the unknown, exploring tales of mystery, horror, and the supernatural.
Be prepared to journey into the darkness, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Jess.
Together, we're the Grave Sisters, and we'll be your guides as we unearth the strange and unusual.
So find your flashlight, grab your shovel, and let's dig in.
The following podcast is rated for mature audiences.
It may contain graphic scenes of violence and explicit language that some may find disturbing.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Season 2 Gravediggers. It is still kind of weird getting back into the swing of things. The subject that I have for us today is a tricky one. I personally have never had an experience with a doppelganger, but I have some friends of mine that are living with one. They hear voices from other people living in the home, but the people that live in the house are not present at the time. They see their son walking down the hall when he is in bed, and they have seen the other person in an opposite end of the house when they run into the real person in the hallway. That kind of stuff freaks me out, and I honestly do not know what I would do in that situation. What about you, Jen? Have you ever had any kind of experience with a doppelganger or know anyone that's had one?
No, but like what you're saying, I don't think that's necessarily like a doppelganger for them.
I mean, it's kind of a fine line between like a doppelganger and like a mimic or like a mimic demon, basically. But the stuff that they've told me like freaks me out because I have a hard enough time with 3 kids, let alone 4 or 5 kids in my house.
Is that literally all you're worried about? Like, I got too many kids
No.
in this house already. I don't know what I would do with an additional
it just
child.
freaks me out, because as a mother, you do everything you possibly can to protect your children. And if there is something in your house that should not be there or does not belong there, I would lose my mind because I would, just keep my kids with me. I gotta go pee. Go in the bathroom with me. Come on, sit down on the floor. Mommy's gotta go potty. Keep them in my line of sight at all times.
Don't they follow you to the bathroom anyway?
True, but this time it would be warranted and not just, leave me alone, let me poop in peace,
Mama go potty.
Well, it just freaks me out because, I never knew the true history or the lore behind a doppelganger. The term doppelganger means it's a supernatural or mysterious double of a living person, often perceived as an omen of bad luck or an ill-fated sign. The term derived from German doppel, meaning double, and ganger, meaning walker or goer. So like a double walker or a double goer. It refers to a lookalike or a mirror image that appears uncannily identical to an individual but is not their twin. In folklore, encountering one's doppelganger is thought to signify impending death or misfortune, as it is seen as like a shadow of yourself, or like a shadow self that exists in a parallel to the real person, and sometimes acting independently or with malevolent intent. Malevolence. The concept of doppelgangers, or shadowy doubles who mirror the living, has deep roots in folklore, mythology, and literature, which span centuries in, God only knows how many cultures. Seen as dark reflections of ourselves, doppelgangers often embody themselves of duality, mortality, and fate, and their appearances are thought to herald ominous events. I did happen to find some history and rich lore behind the unsettling figures. So, doppelgangers have been known in ancient times, so the ancient beliefs and mythology. In many of the ancient cultures, the idea of a double was associated with the soul or the spirit. In ancient Egypt, for example, the Ka was a spirit double believed to accompany each person throughout life and death. When someone died, their Ka would continue into the afterlife. But if a person were to see their own Ka while alive, it was considered an ill omen, or a sign that their time on earth was nearing its end.
Oh, so like it's kind of like, the banshee scream or something like that. You see it, it's like, oh, my soul is out of my body. Obviously, this is not great. Apparently, I'm gonna die. Yeah.
I would see it like that.
Okay. Cool.
You would really like this one. So, in Norse mythology, it also features a doppelganger concept in the form of Vardagar. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Vardagar. It is a spirit that precedes a person, performing actions as they are about to do, or arriving at a place before them. Unlike malevolent doppelgangers, Vardagar was seen more as an ethereal echo rather than a threatening figure, though it still hinted at the mysterious nature of a parallel self, which I thought was really stinking cool. With European folklore, it's seen as a bad omen. The term doppelganger emerged originally from the German folklore, like earlier mentioned, in the 18th century, referring to a person's double goer or shadow self. The German romantic writer Jean Paul is credited with popularizing the term in 1796, using it to describe the unsettling phenomenon of a lookalike that haunts its counterpart. Throughout Europe, encountering one's doppelganger was generally thought to foreshadow illness or death, and to see one's double was to come face to face with mortality, as the double was thought to steal life or drain vitality. So kind of like the Ka. If you see it, you're fucked, basically.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, that's what the European people believed. There's even a literary and cultural influence. So as the concept spread, it captivated writers who wove doppelgangers into gothic tales that explored fractured identities and inner darkness. For instance, Fyodor Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky. Yeah, there you go. His novella, The Double, which was written in 1846, delves into the psychological disintegration of a man who encounters a sinister version of himself, a doppelganger who embodies his worst traits and ultimately drives him to madness. Similarly, Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was in 1886, plays the on the duality of human nature, where Hyde acts as a dark double to Jekyll, representing repressed desires and the potential for evil. And even our boy, Mr. Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, he was fascinated by the dark psyche. Same. He explored the concept in his story, William Wilson, which was written in 1839, in which a man is relentlessly haunted by a lookalike who appears at every critical juncture in his life, ultimately serving as a reminder of his own guilt and moral failures.
Oh.
That's exactly what I need, is another copy of me coming around telling me when I fucked up. Like, you remember that time you did blah, blah, blah? Well, I'm gonna
You were so disappointing then. It was such a disappointment to us.
Oh, you piece of shit.
Great. Thanks for giving me an existential crisis.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, the next one is in like my favorite time, my time period that I would have loved to have visited, not lived in, visited. The Victorian spiritualist movement. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, because honestly, if you had lived back then, you probably would have died.
Yeah, if I lived back then, I would have died. But, oof, I'd love to travel back just for a day or two, So, during the Victorian era, a surge in spiritualism and fascination with the supernatural brought new attention to doppelgangers. Some believed that a person's spirit could appear outside the body, either accidentally or intentionally, as an apparition or fetch. And no, not like in
That's so fetch.
Yeah, not like that's so fetch. Stop trying to make fetch a thing, Gretchen.
Yep.
No, this idea linked doppelgangers to astral projection and the soul's ability to leave the body, adding yet another layer to the doppelganger's mystery. Famous figures claimed to have witnessed their own doubles, fueling the lore. English poet Percy Bysshe Shelley reportedly saw his doppelganger before his death, and as did Catherine the Great of Russia and Abraham Lincoln, each describing chilling encounters with their own ghostly doubles, which I will go into more detail about their accounts in just a little while. In the 20th century, doppelgangers came to represent the duality of human nature, symbolic of the internal conflicts and fractured identities that psychoanalysis began to explore. Carl Jung's theory of the shadow self, the hidden darker side of the personality, paralleled the idea of a doppelganger. Jung believed that we are each capable of cruelty, jealousy, and other repressed qualities that we do not acknowledge, obviously, because we like to repress stuff, creating a metaphorical shadow within us that could manifest externally. Would that kind of be like a poltergeist type of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's talking about like energy and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I would consider it that, because if you're projecting it.
In modern times, doppelgangers appear across popular culture, often with a psychological or a horror twist. They're featured in films like Black Swan, which I still never understood that movie, but Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman banging it out was really fucking hot. And Us, which I really liked that movie too.
So, if you watch a lot of movies that you're like, wow, this has definitely got a more in-depth meaning than what I can attribute it to, you could always go over onto YouTube and watch Found Flicks, because he does a lot of explained about movies and stuff.
Found Flicks?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna be honest, the way he talks is a little annoying for me because I don't know what it is, but he has some of probably the best analysis on movies because I've been watching him for a hot minute just because he's always got really good information and it makes sense. It just makes sense on what certain things in a movie are detailing because it's some movies are just so psychologically thought out to have different meanings.
And then I think I'm intelligent, and then I watch something, and I'm like,
I know, and then you feel like a dumbass because you're like, this is a good movie, but I don't understand what's going on. So seriously, like, shout out to him. Obviously, he's not sponsoring us or anything, but like, he really good. Go.
He really good.
He really good. Go.
That's what you do. He really good.
He really good. He is. Get off my back.
Oh my god, where the fuck was I? Okay, yeah. Okay, back to this. They are featured in films like Black Swan and Us, where characters are forced to confront darker and often malevolent versions of themselves. The doppelganger today continues to embody themes of existential fear, self-doubt, and the unknown aspects of personality. But doppelgangers endure as symbols of the mystery of selfhood, the fear of death, and the unsettling possibility of parallel selves. I mean, they force us to confront the question, what would it mean to face ourselves? Stripped of conscience, memory, or even humanity. So, I mean, as echoes of our hidden depths of dark potential, they remain among folklore's most haunting figures, holding up a mirror that does not always show what we wish to see. And you should know that now that, I like to research encounters with, like, cryptids and find horror stories. So, I have a few encounters that I did run across. So, I mentioned earlier Abraham Lincoln and Catherine the Great. So, one of the most famous doppelgangers encounters was that of President Abraham Lincoln. As the story goes, Lincoln saw a disturbing vision of his own double in a mirror the night of his first election in 1860. While resting on the couch, he glanced across the room and noticed his reflection in the mirror. But strangely, there were two versions of himself, one clear and one ghostly pale. The paler version of himself looked almost corpse-like, which unsettled him deeply. And Lincoln reportedly told his wife, Mary Todd, about the strange vision. And Mary, known for her interest in the supernatural, same girl, love it, believed that it was a sign. She interpreted the vision as an omen, predicting that the clear, healthy version represented Lincoln's first term in office, while the ghostly pale version foreshadowed his untimely death. How fucking spot on was that bitch?
Mary Todd Lincoln, she was definitely special in just everything.
Right?
Like, she was one of them bad bitches. I'm just saying.
I would have been her friend.
Hell yeah.
Well, that event deeply impacted Lincoln, who was known for his melancholy nature and often brooded over it. He was ultimately assassinated in 1865, just weeks into his second term, lending a haunting credibility to his wife's interpretation. Now, this account of Lincoln's doppelganger experience is well known, not only because of the chilling nature of the vision, but because of its tragic alignment with his fate. It remains one of the most famous examples of doppelganger lore, particularly as it pertains to the notion that seeing one's double can be an omen of death. So with that one, I have Catherine the Great.
Ooh.
Oh,
I
this boss bitch.
know the Hulu show. It's not 100% historical fact.
Oh, hell no. But it's so
It's so good.
So is Serpent Queen.
What's Serpent Queen?
Oh my God.
What's
Catherine de
that on?
Medici. She was the Queen of France, married to the King of France, and then, oh God, so, you need to look it up. Serpent Queen, watch it. You ever seen? You remember seeing Harlots?
Yeah.
The head honcho lady on Harlots, she plays the Serpent Queen.
Oh.
Oh yeah, she's that good. Anyway, so back to this. Another famous doppelganger encounter involved Catherine the Great of Russia, the formidable Empress of Russia in the 18th century. According to legend, Catherine's doppelganger was seen sitting on her throne in her palace, even though the real Catherine was in her bedchamber at the time. Alarmed, her servants reported the sighting to her, describing the eerie figure as identical in every single feature and detail on her face. Catherine, known for her pragmatism, but also her belief in omens, went to investigate the double herself. Upon entering the throne room, she reportedly saw her own doppelganger seated calmly on the throne. Oh, I would freak out. Disturbed, Catherine ordered her guards to shoot at the apparition. Though the doppelganger quickly vanished, the incident left her shaken. Shortly after this eerie encounter, Catherine the Great fell ill and died not long afterward. Her doppelganger sighting has since been woven into doppelganger lore. Whew. Yeah, that would creep me out. That thing sat there for so long that the guards were able to go get her from her bed, wake her up, get her out of bed, take her to the room, then open the door. I mean,
They're like, hey, is this?
Hey, I'm here.
Is this you, lady? Because this doesn't look like you.
it reinforced the belief that seeing one's double is indeed a sign of impending death. The story of Catherine's throne room doppelganger is a chilling and haunting example of how these mysterious apparitions have historically served as omens of fate. Now, this next one, there are like real documented stuff involved with this one. So, in the mid-19th century, a school teacher named Emilie Sagee, S-A-G-E-E, French, became the subject of one of the most notorious doppelganger encounters in history. Emilie was a French woman teaching at an exclusive girls' boarding school near Wolmar, in what was then part of the Russian Empire. Right now, it's Latvia. Yeah, Latvia. She was known as a competent, caring, and intelligent teacher, yet her time at the school would be marked by a series of disturbing events that terrified students and faculty alike. It all began when her students started seeing a strange figure that looked exactly like Emily, but would appear in places where she could not possibly be. One of the first recorded sightings occurred during a lesson when students noticed that as Emily stood in front of the blackboard, a second Emily appeared beside her. This double mimicked her exact gestures, raising its arms as she wrote, and yet its movements were slightly delayed and eerily out of sync. The real Emily seemed entirely unaware of the apparition by her side and continued teaching as if nothing unusual was happening. So whenever she was questioned later, Emily had no memory of feeling or seeing anything unusual. Now, the sightings became more frequent as the doppelganger seemed to become bolder, appearing when Emily wasn't even in the room. On one occasion, the students were sitting in a sewing class when they saw Emily's double sitting at the teacher's desk, perfectly still, while the real Emily was visible in the garden outside picking flowers. Curious, some of the more courageous girls approached the desk, reaching out to touch the apparition. They claimed they felt a strange resistance, almost like pressing against thick fabric or dense air, as if the doppelganger had a faint physical presence despite its ghostly appearance. Word of these occurrences spread throughout the school, and Emily herself, despite being the primary figure in this strange tale, had no direct experience of her doppelganger was baffled by the reports. However, the manifestations seemed to take a toll on her. Each time the doppelganger appeared, Emily would become visibly exhausted, pale, and drained, often needing to sit down and recover. Some of the students claimed that her energy seemed to transfer to the doppelganger as though it drew life from her each time that it materialized. And the school administration was, naturally, of course, disturbed by the situation, particularly as more faculty began witnessing the eerie phenomena. And some of Emily's colleagues reported that they, too, had seen her doppelganger moving about the school, sometimes appearing in the hallway, standing silent and still, only to vanish whenever approached. Unlike Catherine the Great's, just sitting there chilling, doing its own thing. One of the final and most terrifying incidents occurred during an assembly in the school's Great Hall. Emily was seated with the other teachers, visibly tired and weak, when suddenly her doppelganger appeared in full view at the far end of the room. Dozens of students gasped as they noticed it standing there, motionless, gazing blankly toward the crowd. The figure remained for several minutes before it simply faded away, leaving the students shaken and the real Emily looking more frail than ever. What the fuck would you do in that situation?
Girl, I don't know.
You're just sitting there chilling, then all of a sudden a you just appears across the room with all these people seeing exactly what you're seeing, and you're not nuts.
Yep.
I don't know what I would do. Now, as the doppelganger's appearances grew more unsettling, rumors began to spread that Emily was cursed or possessed. Though the students were fascinated, many were also frightened, and parents became increasingly concerned about sending their daughters to a school where strange apparitions were almost daily happening, were on almost daily occurrence. The constant presence of the doppelganger became so disruptive that, despite her talents and popularity as a teacher, Emily was asked to leave the school, which would break my heart. Her dismissal was a difficult decision for the administration, as there was no question of her competence. But the disturbance caused by her double had become too much for the school to bear. After she left, the sightings of her doppelganger stopped, and the strange incidents faded into local legend. Emily continued to experience similar occurrences throughout her life, with her doppelganger following her from job to job. I would go nuts. She was reportedly dismissed from several other schools for similar reasons. Tragically, her double seemed to haunt her wherever she went, causing fear and suspicion among those around her. Emily Saugier's, I hope I said that right, Emily's story is one of the most well-documented cases of a doppelganger encounter, as it involved numerous witnesses over an extended period. Unlike most doppelganger legends, Emily's tale is unique in that her double did not appear to foretell her death or misfortune. Instead, it seemed to represent a mysterious split in her being, as though part of her consciousness or spirit was continually manifesting outside her body. In the case of Emily Saugier, has continued to intrigue paranormal researchers for over a century, and some have speculated that her experiences were related to a kind of astral projection type of thing, where others believe that she may have suffered from a form of undiagnosed mental or neurological condition that caused hallucinations or out-of-body phenomena visible to others. I don't know how a hallucination...
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know how
could-
someone would share a
Yeah.
hallucination like that. I
mean, I know of like mass hysteria and stuff like that has
know, but
been a thing, but a
mass
mass
hysteria-
hallucination?
Yeah, mass hysteria would come from, like, people talking about things and hyping them up, and it's just a very quick kind of herd mentality move. It's not all seeing the same hallucination.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you were given, like, that special gas from the Scarecrow or whatever on friggin' Batman, okay? If you would all see the same hallucination. Because that's going to be completely determined by your brain chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think they were full of it when they thought of that thing. But man, I don't know what I would do in her situation. Because I mean, her story is one of the most haunting the doppelganger encounters, raising just a crap ton of like unsettling questions about the nature of consciousness, identity, and the possibility that we each may in fact carry a shadow self, like an invisible double that might, I mean, under mysterious or the right circumstances, appear to others and disrupt the very fabric of our reality. So I mean, I could literally have another me sitting on the couch next to me and just not even know it. Which I know sometimes I can be a shitty person. Sometimes I can be a good person. Sometimes I can be an apathetic person. Sometimes I can be frustrating. I know. It's just, what kind of doppelganger would I get? Because I'm just a mixed bag.
Well, I mean, if popular media is anything to go by, it would be an evil twin type of situation.
But what if I'm the evil twin? Would it be even more evil, or would it be the good twin?
Girl, if you're the evil twin, how good is the good twin then? Because Jesus, they're a saint. They drank the Kool-Aid, okay?
Yeah. But that's all I've got right now on doppelgangers. So, are you going to be on the lookout for your doppelganger, or just like if you see one, you're going to run?
I'm gonna I'm not gonna go looking for my doppelganger because I
Do you think that they're bad omens?
I don't really know. I've never really thought of it, but I guess I would consider them some kind of omen, but I would be more inclined to believe that the timelines or whatever are converging kind of thing, and you're just getting a glimpse into, you know,
Like a time slip.
Yeah, alternate time frame Jen just doing what alternate timeline Jen does, which is hopefully cooler than what I do, but whatever. You know, maybe that bitch doesn't have PTSD. You know, I don't know.
Maybe she's not an espresso depresso, or, you know.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't have that espresso depresso. Maybe she don't drink it on the daily. My bitch has to.
Well, I don't know. I kind of feel like they might be a type of bad omen. But then again, you make a very valid point. It could be like some kind of time slip. Because I like to think more on the scientific side of things. But
I think,
I also like to be open to the
yeah,
weird
the
shit.
supernatural and the weird. I think a lot of people do want to look on the scientific side of things because that helps us make sense of the universe. And not a lot of shit makes sense in the universe.
Yeah.
So,
What about you, Gravediggers? Do you think seeing a doppelganger is a bad omen or maybe something completely different? Send us a message, send us an email, comment. We want to know what you think. And we would actually just really love to hear from you.
yeah.
Honestly.
I tried to start doing like a daily post of tarot readings and stuff, but then my life blew up and you know, ADHD be hitting hard, and so I was like, well, this is my life now. Hopefully it doesn't go to shit. Da 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 da. So,
Dun, 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 dun. Yep, I feel you.
so like I'm trying to do my best. I'm doing what I can. Maybe I'll get some this week. I don't know.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that we're going to go ahead and let this one rest. And we'll catch you on the flip side, Gravediggers. Love ya.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. If you like what you heard, please feel free to follow, like, rate, and review Tales from the Graves podcast on your preferred listening platform.
We also would like to know what you think and what topic you suggest we unearth next. Email us at talesfromthegravespod@gmail.com or reach out to us at Tales from the Graves Podcast on Instagram.
And if you have Discord, join us in the graveyard. The link is in our bio on our Instagram as well as this listening platform. Thanks again, Gravediggers. So, doppelganger.
Yeah, just talk like you got a big old dick in your mouth, Jess. That's fine.
Wow.